And I just let out.
That's not good.
Hi everybody, how are you tonight? Thank you all for coming. I'm Sheila Horsey. I am the chair of the Downtown Development Committee. We're really glad you guys are here. We're having a sidewalk talk tonight. So something amazing that's happened here in town over the last 3.5 years. We've been in development, the Downtown Development Committee. We work closely with the Friends of the Townhouse. And we have, and the Planning Board and the Board of Selectmen, and we've been doing a lot of work. And a lot of people might not know what we've been doing. We do have a page on the North Brookfield net site. So if you go to the North Brookfield site, we've got a lot of information up there that we've been doing to get ready for these sidewalks to get done. So I'll give you a little background story. 3.5 years ago, Jim Buzzell from the Friends of the Townhouse went looking to create a committee. The committee was exclusively to just get complete streets, which, check mark, we've been able to get that grant. It's pretty amazing. It's almost a $400,000 grant, and it is sufficient enough to be able to do phase 1 of 3 phases of fixing the sidewalks in the downtown area. So our committee has snowballed to become more than just complete streets, and we also have become a downtown development committee. So we've become a little bit bigger than just getting this one grant. Ethan just recently, Ethan's on our team too. Sue Lewandowski is also on our team, and I also have these 2 great ladies in my front. I've got Marilyn Forst and Eva Brown, who are on the committee as well. So thank you guys all for coming down. Plans that we have right here, if you guys want to come up and look at them, are phase 1 plans that are 99.9% approved. We're just waiting for the finals to come through, and that should go to bid, hopefully, in November, December, which will allow a bunch of contractors to bid it out for the job, and hopefully we're going to be breaking ground in spring. So for me, all of this was supposed to happen this past spring. We had a little bit of setbacks between the new highway department getting their building and just having a tough time being able to connect with Jason from highway. That was just difficult. And then we lost one of the Board of Selectmen because we've been down one for most of this whole summer. So that was a little bit rough too. So we're finally back up in action. We've got a board of 3 that's able to make some good decisions together. We just met with them last week to get to the final plans of phase 1. And I believe what we're here to do tonight is to kind of tell you guys what is going on with phase 1, which is the biggest piece. And then get some really good input from you guys for phases 2 and 3, because those will be over the next couple of years. And we're going to need some information from you to be able to say, hey, what do you guys think about this? Just in general. So glad that you're all here tonight. We expect to probably have a meeting with some of the businesses in town if you're not already here, so that we can get some input from the landlords and the businesses as well. So with that being said, I want to introduce Ethan, who recently got a job working for the CMRPC, who worked really closely with us during this whole process. So we're really excited that he's actually in there now too. We got like an in, which is amazing. And Ethan is going to be, had created a beautiful presentation for this evening that we will talk you through, but that's okay. And you never know, if I hear from Ryan and I get to get it up partway through, I will. But Ethan, I'm going to let you take over and give us the information that you've got. Thank you.
So what I have is, you've sort of covered a lot of it already in a nutshell, but I'll go over the couple things that I wanted to just mention are sort of like the purpose of Complete Streets and who funds it and things like that, sort of what their whole deal is. So the Complete Streets is the nationwide program, but it's administered here by MassDOT. And basically their whole mission is to create safer, more convenient, more walkable, more pedestrian friendly, less dangerous streetscapes, and that are also sort of more usable and more accessible by alternate modes of transportation and people who may have disabilities and things like that. So that was that's a big part of what these plans end up being, is they make things, they make everything ADA accessible, they make curbing more convenient and safer and more easily walkable. So Sheila sort of went through the timeline, but just so you know that, so basically started in 2018. And I will, maybe we can, in the YouTube description, I can put these couple links. When we were working with CMRPC, they created some really awesome maps. So they actually inventoried all our sidewalks, all our curbing, all our crosswalks, and have this interactive map so you can see where they're really terrible, where they're good, where they're not, where they're in the middle. And that was sort of important in looking at what projects we chose to put forward to Complete Streets to get done. They did that they did the assessment in 2019, they made the maps in beginning of 2020. And so the way that the Complete Streets worked is you basically put together a priority plan and then submit that prioritization plan. So that goes through, they accept it, and I'm trying to think of, we got initial concept drawings back in April 2021, and then they got updated, and then we submitted that to Complete Streets, and then they approved the contract for this phase. So then we got a first draft of construction drawings in February of this year. And I have a copy of those if you'd like to see the initial iteration. Actually, we have the concept drawings, we have the first draft, and then we have these here. So the only other slides that I sort of have are the process. And then just something I pulled from the MassDOT page, sort of talks a little bit about like their intent for the funding, which can be important because depending on how well we execute this project, it may impact what future funding we get. So if we don't implement the things that they're looking to have happen this time, then they might say next time, you didn't do such a great job, sorry, you're not getting the money yet.
And
so,
how much money are we getting in order to be able to?
So this one is 400. Is it?
I think it's
1.2?
390.
390.
I think
Okay.
it was 390.
And then
Just
you,
easier to say 400.
I think you can apply for maybe up to 400 or something like that.
I think
Or-
we got the top tier.
Oh, yeah.
390 was the top you could
Okay.
get.
But then we can get that. We can apply for that same amount for 2 more rounds, right? So-
Right. This one has to be completed before we can apply for the next one.
And that's a huge chunk of money,
It's a big chunk of money, yeah.
$390,000.
And so our prioritization plan has 26 projects. Is that what it was total?
So that's different from all of Complete Streets, I think?
Yeah,
That was
that's like the whole list of everything we theoretically could do, but then we break it out into the ones that we then
Right.
apply for.
Yep.
So theoretically, we could come up with a group of projects that's 350 grand, and then there's one little outlier, and we can throw that in as well, right?
Right.
Um,
Do you have the projects up on there, Ethan? If not, I'll pull them on your
The
chat.
priority list?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Not that anyone can see it, but.
No, that's okay. Maybe
But I
throw
can-
a couple of them out.
Yeah, so let's see, so we've got, so things like accessibility corridor between downtown and senior housing, a bike corridor from downtown to the School Street Rail Trailhead, accessibility corridor from senior housing and downtown to the Common and the Senior Center, bike lanes on Grove Street. So basically, we sort of threw everything in there, everything that we possibly might want to do, we put in there, and then we broke out. Let's see, what else? Yeah, there's 27 things. Some of them are small, some of them are big. Just minor pedestrian improvements on specific streets where the sidewalks and infrastructure is really terrible. So this is actually on the DDC webpage as well, I believe. So other things that they're sort of looking for, and this, the one thing that we did do that you did, Sheila, at the very beginning was create the Complete Streets policy. So
Right.
the town has basically signed off and sort of agreed that any future projects will adhere to the tenets of the complete streets policy, would sort of include all this, maintaining safety, making things as accessible as possible, and so forth. So, that being said, the majority of what I have in my presentation, the slides here, are just the maps.
Okay.
Can you explain what we are trying to do in phase one?
Yeah.
Well,
Do you want me to take that over for a second? And,
Sure, go for it.
Byron just gave us a great idea to see if maybe we might be able to hook it to the television. See if there's something there. If you want to peek at that while I work on this. So phase one is pretty awesome. It's actually 3 maps long. This starts us down by like Hannaford. Actually, that's backwards, isn't it? Hold on. This starts us down by Hannaford. So this is that intersection that you come up to in Hannaford. Over here, which is kind of a funky little spot over there.
yes.
So one of the things that we want to do on the other side of the street is to shorten that crosswalk a little bit, because as people are coming down that South Main area, that crosswalk is really, really long, and then you've got that little anchor spot. We want to kind of shorten that up and tighten that up a little bit. We did notice too, I think that there's accidents that tend to happen over in that little spot too. So phase 2 is going to take us on that side of the street. Phase 1 is on the Hannaford side of the street, and it runs on the Hannaford side of the street all the way from Hannaford. We come same side of the street all the way in front of the Congregational Church. So we're going to create a sidewalk that is not there right now to be able to make that a little bit safer on that side of the street. There's actually a crosswalk currently. Sometimes you don't notice these things until you actually start working on the project, then you realize there's a crosswalk right in front of the library that goes right across the street to nothingness. So this will actually take you to a sidewalk, and they're also going to, I believe, create a little spot on the opposite side of the street until we actually finish that side of the street to let someone that is ADA, give some ADA compliance and accessibility to people to get up onto the sidewalk.
Right.
If you go over there right now, it's pretty amazing that you walk. No, there's a sidewalk, and there's handicap parking, but the poor person that might have to be in a wheelchair or even, for some reason, needs to get up onto the sidewalk, needs to go down to the street and come up the sidewalk on the street in between the church and the library. It's like a hot mess. So it definitely needed some help there, so we're really looking forward to that. One of the things that we originally had on our original plan was like a lot of bump outs, is what they're calling them, and a lot of spaces that had a lot of curb extensions. And the planning, I don't know so much the planning board, I shouldn't say that. The highway department really was having a difficult time with that because he said, we've already seen other towns mess up their plows from those kind of curb extensions. It's a whole other project for our guys to have to go out there and have to plow that differently. And we just got down a conversation, a great conversation with Jason. He says there's only 4 guys that are employed right now in this highway department, and to have someone exclusively just plowing just that part of town is not going to work for the rest of the town. So we worked really closely with the highway department, and what they're going to do, the plan is, what'd you do? Nothing? All right. The plan is to take the places where we did put like curb extensions, and they're actually going to put in this special corrugated material. And what it is it allows for the plow to go over it, but it's a very like it's spongy, but I think it's a deterrent for cars to park on that spot. So it keeps people away from there so that there is like a potential bump out, but yet it's still flat to the ground. So it allows for cars to stay away and for us to still have that complacency for ADA compliancy and for it to be safer and for people to be in a crosswalk instead of in between all these cars as well. I think that we've only lost 1 or 2 spots doing this whole thing.
Yeah.
We still have all of our parking on that side of the street except for I think 1 spot because we made a spot to be able to cross there, which was safe because right now somebody's in between 2 cars when they're crossing there. And then it runs all the way down to the center of town here. We actually are working with, or the BOS I should say is probably working with Vibram, who is putting a whole a whole new addition on the side of their building coming down School Street here, which is gonna be this big glass office front. And in the midst of their construction that they're doing, they're gonna repair the sidewalk and a lot of that, the curb over here that has the like wrought iron fence in front of it, in front of the little pocket park that just got renovated over in the center of town. So that's gonna come down, it'll come down in front of that, the new gas station that we've got, and it's gonna run all the way down to, past the Maple Street side and over to the, Central Street side. So down in front of like that little Vibram, parking area. So it's a really big, long piece that, we're really excited about. We were very excited to be able to get the sidewalk in front of the stone wall at the church. We worked very closely with the church too, talked to them about the possibility of moving it, what the history of it was in case we needed to open the road up a little bit more. And then we found from engineering that we really didn't need to do anything. There's plenty of room. It feels like there's not, but they're engineers and they know what they're doing, so there's plenty of room to get a small sidewalk in there, as well as keep our parking on that side of the road, because we know parking is a major concern in our downtown. And that might be one of the things that we want to talk about during sidewalk talk too, is the fact that we need parking, and if anybody has any ideas what they think we should be doing downtown here, that'd be helpful. But if you want to come up and check out the plans, these are almost final. We've got one more little phase to go through, and that should be done within the next couple of weeks, we think. What we wanted to do was, right in the center of town here, we had some major bump outs, so it's called traffic calming, and we really pulled in the sidewalks so that they bumped out really far into the road to make that crosswalk really short. And it wasn't conducive to a lot of things in town, so it's got redone, but what we asked for is to maybe put back some of that with some of the corrugated material, just to deter people from being that close to there. So we're hoping that that's something we're gonna be able to integrate as the last piece, and to keep those crosswalks really tight, to keep pedestrians off the road as much as possible, and to keep them safely on the sidewalks. Sue?
Do you know when Vibram is going to start their work?
So, at the BOS meeting I was just at last week, I believe they said like as soon as possible. So I believe, Bill, did you guys get plans and stuff already, the planning board for that? Yeah, I think that's like all approved and, yeah.
The one problem is the building inspector's on vacation right now.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
waiting on their final permits. He's thinking, he was thinking October.
So, I mean, that's coming fast.
I got it, but, I mean, it's a lot of it's preliminary work, so actual construction probably won't be until later. But probably by next summer, I would think.
So, it should work in perfectly with, it should work in perfectly. Let's all put some prayers up there. That all of our bids come in and that it's gonna be a springtime project so that it'll work well with the Vibram getting their project done too, so that when they put their strip in and fix that sidewalk on the School Street side, that it all happens at one time and it's all gonna be one nicely done project. Does anybody have any questions?
How long does this part take to be finished? Just, estimate.
That's an amazing question. I've never asked that in this whole thing. I'll find out for you.
What percentage of the budget will be spent on phase one?
So this phase one budget is 100%. We actually it's 100% of complete streets. That's why phase two is for us to go in and ask for the grant again and get another 300,000 to 400,000 for the next phase. So phase two, we're thinking is gonna be in front of, phase three is the townhouse, the Adams block, which is, Nodder just fixed up that building, he painted it all black, and then we've got it going all the way down to, in front of Hannaford, and then up to, the south side of Summer Street. So it would take us all the way down that way. We might even go down the street a little bit, down Summer Street on that side. And then phase three is in front of the townhouse, the opposite side of the street, and running all the way down to Maple Street. Does that make sense? Like in front of the cemetery area. So the reason why we had to ditch it out into different phases was because of the fact that it's expensive. I believe that our highway department, their total budget for all the roads for the entire year is like $350,000. So we got enough money that is way above their budget. We got a second grant for another $200,000 for shared streets because we've had inflation, things have gone up. We want to make sure that we're covering this entire side of the street and that it doesn't affect our taxpayers whatsoever. So we've got almost $600,000 to do that whole sidewalk area all the way down that whole section. So it was expensive. It's very expensive. One of the other things that we took into consideration too was the fact that water and sewer, we didn't want to have to pull that all back up a second time around. I believe they're running water pipes. No, the sewer pipes, they're gonna run connector pipes all underneath all of the sidewalks so that when they end up doing the Main Street sewer, that they just need to do the road and just connect to those brand new pipes that are already underneath the sidewalk, so they don't have to touch the sidewalk. My understanding was, last time I just talked to the BOS, was that they had talked to the water department. The water department was, for some reason, not interested in having to do that. I don't know, but I don't know if the water's on the other side of the street, because I know I worked with Brandon from the historical museum, and we pulled a lot of the old plans so that we got all the pipes and stuff that were happening underneath the ground, and I think water was on one side and sewer was on the other or something like that. I don't know, there was something funky. That's not my job to have to remember all that.
Is there gas
But
under the streets too?
that I'm not
Yeah,
too
yeah.
sure about.
There's-
Yeah.
there's storm
But I know that we
drains,
were working with those
Storm drains,
departments
too.
to make sure that we had thought about that preliminarily so that that gets done as well. Do you have any other questions?
I guess I'm just curious about the overall scope of the project. I live on Prospect Street. and
Okay.
The sidewalk on my street has deteriorated so badly.
Okay,
That the street, which is maintained by the city, instead of draining into the drains, the storm drains, it sheds water onto my property.
that's not good.
No?
Okay,
Yeah, and it's starting to cause serious damage to my
I
property.
know that I think
Is he on the West
Prospect
Street
is
project?
part of the West Side project.
Okay, great. Would it,
That,
phase is that?
I don't know what the timeline is on that. It's
Well,
not-
it
I
depends-
think-
Not
it
quick.
depends what side of Prospect, which,
It would be the down the hillside, so closer towards, because that's the side with the sidewalk on it.
going towards.
Right by
Green Gold.
Summer.
Yeah, which side of Summer?
Oh.
Going towards Green Gold?
Yeah, going towards the old.
Yeah, I don't think that's part of West Side.
Is it not?
west side is
It's
up,
the
like
other-
behind the
the other
townhouse.
Where the
side.
cemetery is?
Yes.
Okay, but,
Yeah.
you might wanna talk to Highway Department, see if they can do anything.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So
Jason
that's
Benoit's
not
highway.
within the scope of the project?
No, not right now. Right now downtown is literally just like the North Main Street area.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I know that there were, the community development block grant stuff was gonna do at some point Summer Street going that way, but I don't know if you know, Brandon or Bill, whether they were going that far out. That was like their.
Yeah, I think
like their 5 or 10
that was like
year-
another phase. They're
Yeah.
starting with,
Right,
Mount Pleasant Street.
right.
So I should reach out to Jason?
I would say, and the Board of Selectmen probably too, because, and they were working with CMRPC to create the West Side infrastructure project. And I know that's, so it's CBD, what is that? What does that stand for?
Community development. block
Community
grants.
Development Block Grants. There's these specific grants that the CMRPC has taken North Brookfield kind of under its wings to go get some of these grants to fix up some of these issues that we're having at just off of Main Street area.
What
So
does CMRPC stand for?
Central Mass Regional Planning Commission.
Okay.
Yep, yep. They're regional. Hold on.
So obviously, you must have looked at the traffic patterns in the downtown area there?
We didn't do a traffic study.
Okay.
I'll put that out there. My understanding that the last traffic study was done in like 2007, and that there's been sufficient traffic study. Whether or not Bill did some kind of a traffic analysis, I'm not sure. He might have from, for the engineering piece of it. we never really talked about that. I think that he might have done that on his own. I know he has come out to North Brookfield, the engineering team has come out to North Brookfield a couple of times, and they did quite a few different assessments. So whether or not that was part of the process that he did, I don't recall. It's been a long time.
It would seem that that would affect what you do.
The
What
traffic
happens
pattern?
Yeah, the traffic pattern at that intersection, particularly downtown.
So, I will definitely agree with you, we did talk about that quite extensively, especially for phases 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Because when you come up Summer Street,
Yeah.
it's really difficult to like see around.
It is.
A lot of people have a lot of problems with that. And so coming down from School Street doesn't seem to be as big of an issue as coming up from Summer Street. So sidewalk wise, because this isn't redoing the whole street, this is literally just the sidewalks.
Right.
We are very concerned about ensuring that phases 2 and 3 are going to make those a safer area. We definitely took traffic lights off of the agenda because we had so much backlash in town. People definitely don't want to put a traffic light here. One of the things that we did consider during the process was like some kind of like a rotary-ish kind of system, or like something in the middle of the road to traffic calm people, to slow people down.
This is South-Main to, is that what you're talking?
This is the intersection right here at Summer Street, School Street, and North Main. Right, so we did discuss that, and I think that we figured out just pulling kind of those sidewalks out a little bit is already traffic calming people enough. And that it would just be way too much for the people of North Brookfield to put in something that gigantic in the middle of that section, so.
And the other reason is the 18-wheel semis that have to come and service.
Right,
Byram.
right, yeah, that wouldn't be
They
able
just
to
can't
go
make the
around something
turns.
like that.
If you
Yeah.
put, excuse
That'd
me,
be a nightmare.
Yeah.
When the gas station was being discussed,
Yes,
they brought up the fact that CMRPC had already done, or that 2007.
there was a traffic study done back in
traffic
2007 that was
Right,
part of the
right,
master
right.
plan that was done back in 2007, and that,
So that was good enough for the gas station.
Right. So whether, I don't know that we actually did a traffic, I know we didn't do a traffic study for the sidewalks. Whether or not we technically need another traffic study done in town, that's kind of on, I don't know, so probably some other boards in town to
Yeah, and
decide
again,
that.
things are gonna change dramatically once the gas station's open, so it's probably premature to have done anything anyway.
Well, I can say that when I went to quite a few meetings at the planning board with that, and the discussion was that, that the gas station wasn't gonna bring in much more traffic than already is in town.
No, but the traffic is gonna be entering and exiting right by that intersection.
Well, one of the other things that was put into place, that actually the Downtown Development Committee worked closely with the planning board to discuss, was that the very first, when you come off the intersection here, there's actually 2 entrances to
Yep.
that gas station.
Right.
What I believe is supposed to be happening is that the one, I'm always so backwards at left and right. The one closest to the intersection is only allowed to have people
Coming in.
coming in,
Yeah.
and you can only go out on a right.
Yeah,
You
that
can only
one.
take a right out, you can't take a left out of that one.
Mhm.
And, but out of the one on the opposite, on the farther away side, you can go in or out. So that was one of the safety features that's supposed to be being put into place to ensure that people aren't taking lefts out of there and they're crossing each other. That there's only rights and ins and another left to come in. So that was one of the things that, it did get discussed, definitely. Yeah.
Were we considering at all the lighted signs for crosswalks? Because I think that it works very well in Spencer, where they have that crosswalk, and you see the lights.
So, one of the other things that we do have on this side of the street that we did talk to the engineering team extensively, and that was initially part of the budget, is putting in light fixtures. To at least give some light to the town, bring some beautification to the center of town, and also allow it to be lit for the pedestrians. Currently, there's debate back and forth whether or not we're actually gonna put the lights in, but we think that we are gonna be able to get the electrical there so that we're ready for the lights. But that hasn't been totally finalized yet, that's part of this final phase. And the other concern was that
Are you
if the
talking,
lights,
excuse me, are you talking streetlights?
Yeah,
Or are you
I'm
talking the signage for, like the.
I don't know that we have
crosses?
signage across the
No, I don't think so, but I
crosswalks.
think that's a good point. I think that's something to bring up.
Yeah, I think that that's a really good point, we can definitely bring that into this final phase
Because
of
one of
this
the things
and
too is
have
in
them
the-
talk
Because
about
I will
that.
tell you, you know, when the library has anything going on there,
Yeah,
and
Right,
there's a lot of people,
yep,
you have absolutely no idea.
right,
Because people just walk out and you can't see them.
Right.
Because it's all cars.
yep,
It's extremely dangerous.
yep, yep,
And
We
one of
can
the
definitely
things
bring
the-
that up.
One of the
Yeah.
original drawings also had more, it had added more crosswalks. And I believe the first concept drawing had those, indicators.
good.
And then they
Right.
got taken out when we removed the extra sidewalks. And I think that it would make sense now that we have less sidewalks to add them back in again.
Yes.
yeah, we
Yes.
can definitely talk about that,
Especially for
absolutely.
families with children. I had a mother come in
Yes.
today who had to come in to the back of the library, which people don't usually do,
Right,
because she couldn't get across the street with 3 kids.
right,
Yes.
right,
She
it
just
is
could not.
very unsafe on that side of the street right now.
Well, and plus you're coming up that hill.
You're coming up
Yeah.
that hill,
It's
that's
very-
right.
it's very-
Right.
That's right.
Yeah,
All of a sudden, they're there.
Is there gonna be parking on that side of the street coming up the hill before the crosswalk? Because it would make sense for there to be no parking there.
there's no parking there now,
There isn't.
right.
There is.
Oh,
Are you talking about it right in front of,
Coming
like,
up from Hannaford,
Yeah.
right, on your right-hand side.
yep,
There
There's
is.
the driveway coming out from the church.
so from that
And then
driveway
there's a
beyond, all that
crosswalk,
parking's still gonna be
right?
there, yep,
So before the crosswalk, there is a parking space, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty dangerous, is what I'm suggesting, that
Okay.
should be a parking space.
I
That
don't
would
know that
help
they're
you
gonna take any
visually.
parking spaces out.
That's just one right here.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know that they're gonna take any parking spaces out. I know that the
Well,
church
then you
parks
gotta do
there
the light
usually,
then.
yeah.
Those lights definitely.
Right. All right, yeah, we'll definitely bring that up and have that, see if we can get those indicators put back in for a couple different spots and make it a little bit safer too.
So
That's
when you were
great, thank
talking
you.
about the street lights, were you thinking of something like?
Traffic
they have-
lights.
Oh.
When we talked about streetlights,
Well,
like
you-
traffic lights you're talking about, or are you talking about the lights we were
Well,
talking
you were
about?
talking, I think, what Marilyn was talking about was the flashing kind.
Yes.
But it sounded like you were talking about regular street lights.
Yes, we
And
did.
would they be something like the ones they have at Spencer now, something that would, I'm thinking of the library, I would want to have something that would fit with the architecture of the
Yes.
Absolutely.
library and be very
Right.
nice, but really illuminate things, because it does get very dark there.
Yes.
And one of the
after
things
hours.
we had talked about is that because we have all of the existing electrical poles on the east side here, putting up additional light lampposts might just make it way too busy, way too crowded and difficult
Like
to
with
walk.
poles
Yeah.
themselves.
We had thought about potentially, the engineer had suggested maybe mounting, nice looking street lamps on, at a regular, whatever, 8-10 foot height on the existing utility poles. And then when we
Yep.
when we get to phases 2 and 3 on the other side, where it's against the buildings and we have the option for maybe more decorative lighting,
Right.
we can sort of implement it on that side and not on these, so.
Yep.
That would help.
Yep,
So I have one question, so
Absolutely.
coming up from South Main, it is very dangerous when you're trying to get out of Hannaford.
yes.
Has there been any discussion of closing one of their driveways?
We haven't had that talk with them. But I can
Making
imagine
the other
that,
one be, wider may be better, instead of having one street, and Hannaford coming out. you
Right,
know? I mean,
right.
every
Yes.
time, it's, I just wait every single time for someone to go, I don't know how many.
it has,
times
we've
I've
had several accidents, I
I mean,
believe,
it's
over
just
there. That happens
I
often.
mean, even if they move their driveway over, instead of it being in the intersection.
Right.
That's right. It's
Right.
not-
Right.
Just would
Yeah.
be,
Well, I know our phase for the sidewalks is to hopefully bring that curb that comes down when you're coming from North Main and going south, to bring that curb down, to kind of slow people down so they don't just fly down that other street either. And then that way, they'll be a little bit more observant of people that are crossing at that side. Because the sidewalk ends on that side, and we did briefly discuss that too, that it just goes into the Hannaford parking lot. You know what I mean? And it doesn't keep going straight across the street. So, we'll take that into consideration on our next phase, for sure.
I'm sure that has to hear from.
Yep.
I was gonna say, I live on South Main down by the dance studio.
Oh, yeah, that's where I live too.
Are they doing anything down there or no?
We don't have that, the Downtown Development Committee hasn't taken that into any kind of jurisdiction to go that far down. So whether or not the Highway Department is working on something like that, we're not sure. I know Downtown Development Committee is really focused on bringing the downtown back to its, to its value, making sure it's really pedestrian safe for people who are coming to the businesses in town. And the reason why we were created in the first place was to be able to bring this complete streets to town to fix the sidewalks, because the state actually is working closely with the Friends of the Townhouse, and ultimately our goal is to get the townhouse back up and running again. So that's our ultimate goal. So the reason why these sidewalks are getting all done is because the state wants to see that we're putting some real effort into our downtown area to be able to get the funds that are technically already earmarked for the townhouse released to them when they finalize their project, which we just had their meeting 2 weeks ago, and they've got great things going on there too. So we're very excited about that.
But we can say that the one important part for the townhouse is that the streets are ADA compliant, because that the
Right.
building cannot be opened because it's not ADA compliant. You've got all these steps to go into.
Right, it's a lot of steps to get to the point to get that back open
Extremely
again.
important to get that done,
Yeah. So phase 2 is help me out, North Main Street, but coming up like in front of the library and the church, and coming all the way down in front of the new building that Nodder just fixed up over here. The Walker Building, no,
Adams
the
Block.
Adams Block. It's been a long work day today.
Sheila,
So, yes,
excuse me, might I suggest that maybe phase
Yes,
2
please.
get switched to phase 3? Because it would help,
that's a great suggestion.
would
The
help the
reason,
townhouse project to have the sidewalks done earlier rather than later.
so we have a reason why we put phase 3, so great question, Bill. The reason why we put the townhouse into phase 3 is because of the fact that we know that this next phase is gonna take us probably another 2 years to get that done. Once this is done, we've got to bring up new plans, get that whole side done, to be able to do that. And the townhouse, we wanna make sure that we are, in sync with the same time that the townhouse is ready to start breaking ground and fixing things inside of there. Because we also have to redo that sidewalk that comes down around the corner, because that's kind of a hot mess over there too. We've already got, the engineers have already had that in their head, thinking about how we're gonna fix that. So we wanna make sure it also works with the architectural plans and the engineering that they have done at the townhouse, to be able to make sure that that all works compliantly. One of the things that we had discussed was, we had talked to Nodder about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, about him putting like a porch type of situation in the front of his building, which is the one that he just fixed up, which has like angel nails and little lotus in there. So that way there was an ADA compliant ramp that can come up to allow people to get into all those offices.
That's also.
So then we discussed doing the same thing on the other side of the street, so it matches and it looks really nice. And then there's another ramp to be able to get people into the townhouse as well.
Right, so, but our architect is also working on that, so I
Right.
think once we do work, we've got to talk to each other.
Yeah.
You know, make sure that his plan and the plan for the Nodder building match.
Right.
Because I agree with you, that's what it should be.
Yeah, so those have been our initial thoughts on how we would like to work out phase 2 and phase 3. So that phase 2 is gonna be easier to implement and get done quicker while we're waiting for the final engineering and stuff like that to get done.
And the money,
Yeah,
the
so,
money to do it.
heads up, October 1st, which is this Saturday, is Friends of the Townhouse is sponsoring the Oktoberfest down at the Common Ground, so if you can come down and support that, that would be really great. They do have quite a bit of funds that have come in for them, that are getting them really close to be able to get their final architectural plans done, and once those are done, they're allowed to take those to the next phase and be able to get some. It's true though, you're almost
Well,
there.
We're
You're this
waiting,
close.
we're crosswalk to
Yeah,
come in. One
it's coming.
seconds and that'll tell us something. And we have a
We're manifesting that we got it already, all right?
Project, a matching project, so that's another thing.
So when is phase one supposed to start?
Phase one, we're hoping is gonna be, ground will be broken in spring. Phase one is at the tail end, and we're just waiting for those final plans to come in so we can go to bid. So having the sidewalk talk was helpful, because like you guys said, hey, indicator lights, can we get them in there? We can throw that in there for this final phase and be like, hey, we got some feedback, can we throw some indicator lights in there? That sounds like a great idea. And then any kind of other feedback that you guys might wanna give to us to see if that's something that we might be able to throw into this last push, so that we've got our final plans, because we wanna go to bid, start bidding out in November. So when we bid in November, all these contractors set themselves up for their year next year, so we should be able to break ground sometime spring, summer.
But bidding in November only happens if what happens?
Bidding in
What does
November
the
only happens
BOS have to
if
do?
these plans are completed, done, signed off. I think BOS, I don't know if they're working with planning board on this at all, or they're just doing it themselves. I think that they just have to finalize this with the engineer, and with Jason Benoit from Highway, and once these are signed off, they can go to bid.
So
So-
if you're concerned about when it starts, contact the BOS and let them know that you have concerns and. you'd
Well,
like
just
to-
let them know that you're excited and
Yeah.
you wanna see it done and get
Yeah.
it implemented.
So Sheila, I'm a little bit confused. The first phase is going to do the side of the road from Hannaford up the road across from the library,
Yes.
not on the
Yes.
library side.
Not on the
Yes.
library side.
So if you're doing something with the crosswalk at that time,
They're gonna fix it on the library side, the crosswalk part.
oh, so they will make the cutout?
Yep,
Good,
Yep.
okay, I just wanted to
Yep,
make sure.
that's on
because
the
it'd be
plan.
crazy to have a good sidewalk.
when you guys
over
come up,
there.
if you wanna check it out, and that's on the plan to do that, to make sure it's implemented on that
Okay,
side.
Good.
And then in phase two, they'll redo that whole side so that it's proper and they match each other nicely.
Another question, out in Amherst, I think it's Amherst College has these, I don't know if it's the same lights that you're talking about. You press the button and then it flashes so people know you're crossing, and it'd be great to have something like that by the library,
Yeah,
at
Yes.
least.
yeah, that's exactly what they were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I know that the one in
Spencer has one of them,
Spencer,
too.
You don't even have to press the
Yeah.
button, you step on the pad and the pad puts the lights
Oh,
on.
where
So you
is
can
that?
press the button,
It's right
Right in
downtown
Spencer
Brookfield.
Center.
West Brookfield's got 3 or 4 of them,
yeah.
Okay.
by the Catholic Church and further down.
It doesn't say
By
walk,
the
don't
bank?
walk, it's just a
No, no,
blinking yellow
but
light.
it lets the cars know that there's somebody
Yes.
trying to
Someone
walk
in the
in.
walkway.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
right.
like
I don't know if there's, some of those could be solar powered too, I don't know, that way.
I think
they're-
that that's a phenomenal
You know, that way
idea.
the
Yeah,
town's
Yeah.
not paying for.
right, electricity for it.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. I don't see why we couldn't do something like that. I think that those other ones in Spencer are solar powered.
I know
now
they
that
are
you
in
say
some
that.
towns, I don't know what's
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that that's a great idea, and that keeps us a little bit more green here over in North
Yeah.
Brookfield.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, great. So one of the things that we wanted to, did you have more on your plate that I'm totally interrupted? Okay, I chat, I'm really good at that. If you guys have any kind of other feedback or information now that you wanna kind of toss at us for phases 2 and 3, we would love to hear some of your information and take down some of that, so that when we start working on those next phases, we've got some input from you. That would be phenomenal. And for anybody who's watching this later on TV too, please go either to Facebook, there's the North Brookfield Downtown Development Committee page, and you can message us right through there, and we'll be able to get some input back from you as well. We would love that, so, yes.
I'm not on Facebook, so I probably would know it if I were. What materials are the sidewalks and curbstones, like the ones in West Brookfield and Spencer and?
What is the material?
So I believe that we are doing granite,
I think that's what they said.
the granite curbing. But I'm trying to remember, it's really been a long time, and I've had a long day today. I think that we're doing asphalt in it?
I think we're
What?
doing concrete.
I think it's
Concrete.
yeah.
Thank you,
Concrete.
concrete.
Granite.
I couldn't remember, it's been a long day, honestly. So concrete inside of the actual sidewalk, and we've got the granite curbs, I believe, on the side.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes,
Parking.
yes.
I mentioned this several times, but I think, you know, downtown businesses, they need to have their employees off the street.
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
we have a couple options. We need to develop this area on Grove Street,
Yeah.
the parking area. But I think it wouldn't be too much to ask Quabog to give up some of their parking on Main Street. It would be easy, I've been there down to those parking lot, that's parking spaces, and there's if we just took the first 12 on each side, that would be 24 spaces
Right.
that businesses could have their employees park, and they still have plenty of room for their employees and their trucks.
To put
And
some
if
public
we
parking
could,
in there.
you know, open up parking on Grove Street, they could have some of their employees park there to make up for that. I don't think 24 spaces is a whole lot to ask for Vibram to
We
give
can
up,
definitely do that.
especially since they're using the police station here anyway
Yes.
for
Right.
parking.
Right.
They use the church. you
Yeah.
know. I think somebody needs to talk to Vibram and see if we can't get that for some municipal parking.
I think that's a great idea. I think that with that, we would also, I've been putting a lot of thought into this, we'd want to put some signs up that say public parking, so people realize that they can park there.
And
Because
they
right
could-
now, I
if
think
they- If
people
they
wouldn't
wanted
even
to,
know
they
to do
could,
that.
you know, could put a little bump out or barrier, you know, to indicate that public parking is in the front.
Available.
And then private parking beyond that point or whatever.
Yeah,
And also, Salem's lot, that's actually 2 lots.
that's kind of far though.
But
That's down by in front of, like past Hanford, right? A little bit, you talking about?
no, by the
Which one are you talking
DFW,
about?
On Maple Street.
on Maple Street.
I don't know where
That's
that
private
is.
property though, right?
Yeah,
The old post office, next to the old
next
post
to
office.
the old post
Opposite
office.
cemetery on Maple Street.
So-
Salem.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, that trucking place. That's
Okay.
actually 2 lots. Where, one is where the building is,
Yeah,
and then there's another lot, a lot of it's overgrown, but if the town could somehow acquire that second parcel that's not developed,
okay,
that could be used as municipal
Did they get
parking.
bought?
Especially we're thinking about getting the townhouse up and running. You know, there's not gonna be enough parking right in front.
that's definitely one thing that we were talking about, once the townhouse is up and running, if we're having shows there and stuff
So
like that, we
that's-
definitely have to have
that's
some valet parking. to be
Basically,
able to put
that's
people in
basically
different
around the
places.
corner.
Right,
I'm not sure, I mean, I haven't really looked closely at how many spaces you could fit in there, but
yeah,
there, that, you know, there's one whole section that's not in front of the building.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll definitely
Could
take a walk down there
Be a
and check that out.
potential,
Yeah, and then you can come up to it from behind the townhouse.
and then, like I said,
Yeah,
this,
behind it.
over here on Grove Street needs
Yeah.
to be
Road right
developed,
there,
but
that-
I would like to see it developed nicely, like with some, you know, green buffers around the edges and everything, and not just throw gravel down and just say park here, you know?
Right,
So,
yeah,
I think between, you know, those couple options, it would open up a lot of parking for downtown. And we need to get these businesses off the street because in the first place, most of them aren't even supposed to be there all day.
right,
you know,
right.
And it takes up parking for people who are just going in for, you know, quickly or for even a couple hours or something.
Yeah.
So-
I know one of the conversations we were looking to have too was to, we haven't had a chance to talk to him, was to talk to Nodder about behind his building. To be able to, maybe pull that parking lot out a little bit bigger, make it a little bit more accessible, and even maybe to have it, assessed to see if there's a better way to line cars up in there.
Yeah,
And
he was
get people back
supposed, he was
there.
supposed to pay that, he paid, you know, if he paid that, I don't know what,
No.
I don't
Okay.
think so, I don't think that's been paid back there.
It's all dirt.
behind the Aswad.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I think,
because
I think
he's-
assessing that to see if there's a better way to engineer traffic and parking back there,
Yeah.
we could probably get another, probably 10 spots out of that, if they park them correctly. You know, in a better manner,
Absolutely.
which would be great. Thank you for coming.
And then, well, another thing we talked about on the planning board is to get Vibram's cars off the road, because they have the parking behind their office building that's not
Yeah.
always
Okay,
full, but I think once they get their building done, we can continue that conversation.
Are they expanding their workforce?
No, not really.
Okay, so we're not dealing, I mean, that's not a
No,
burgeoning.
The
Yeah,
plan probably is to get rid of that building.
they
and
can't
have
even,
everything in
they
the
can't even
center.
get enough people to fill positions they have open.
Well, I know, I didn't know if they were looking to
No,
expand.
no,
No,
they
you just wanna
want, they
fill
want
it
to put
again.
their offices back over in the main
In the
factory
main
building,
building,
that's the idea.
They want to sell it.
Oh, they do.
But parking, I think, is a big issue, and we need to kind of focus on that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that needs to be something that we really need to work on in the downtown area.
Yeah, especially you doing the phase 3 and get Gillette's people from parking on the sidewalk.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Thank you.
But,
Great job to all you people making this stuff happen. It takes years.
Does take a
Yes,
long
it does.
time.
But if you weren't doing it, imagine the mess that we'd end up with.
Yeah, thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Yes. Want to join us?
So I'm gonna technically end the meeting so that way, anybody who was watching online, can be finished up. And again, if you wanna contact us, we would love for you to contact us. We also have a page on the nb.com website, or .net, or whatever we are, nb.com. Definitely contact us, and we're always looking for members to join too. If you guys wanna help us out with this, we'd love that. So thank you so much for everybody for coming. And then we're gonna leave the rest of the meeting open for you guys to just give us any kind of feedback and stuff like that, and chat. We'll get up to another half an hour, and then we all wanna go home now. Right? If you haven't already.
Yeah.